Good morning, everybody. We still have maybe a minute or so, just waiting for other people to join, and we will be starting soon. Okay, so it's 10 o'clock, so I'd say we better get going. You are very welcome to the webinar today, and thank you so much for your time. And today's webinar is going to be focused on Moodle course formats. And a little bit of housekeeping. My name is Vaida Holohan, and I'm an e-learning consultant here at Enovation. I'm sharing my contact details, so just in case you would like to contact me after the session, if you have any additional questions or comments, you are very welcome to do so. My colleague Emma is also here with me today, so she's going to keep an eye on a question and answer section. And if you have any questions at any stage during the webinar, please feel free to pop those questions in there, and I will try to answer those as best as I can. A little bit about the structure of today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Enovation. Then I have a slideshow prepared to show you the course formats. And then I can go into Moodle from the point of view of administrator or learner and show you those course formats that we're going to discuss today. And then we'll have some time for questions and answers. So I hope that's okay with everybody. And yeah, let's get going. So Enovation is a technology company, and we focus on all things e-learning. So all of our services are kind of e-learning related, and that involves hosting, different hosting options, that involves development. So when the default functionality of the system is not sufficient, we have a development team and we can even develop the plugins for you. We have a support portal where the questions can be reported, and then they are looked into by our development or technical team. We also offer consultancy services around all things e-learning and best practices. We create bespoke content, and we provide training on all the platforms that we host. So our specialty is open source products, and we are partners with Moodle and Totara. And also important to note that we are ISO 27001 certified, and that is an official recognition and proof that security is very, very important to us. We have offices in Dublin, as well as France and Poland, and with over 300 clients. We have clients from different range of sectors, and more than 20 years experience in e-learning. Okay, so first of all, all the course formats a plugin. And what is a Moodle plugin? So I guess the beauty of having an open source product is that you can extend its functionality by installing a plugin. And plugin is anything that is an add-on to the existing functionality of the system. In the Moodle plugin directory, there is over 1,700 plugins. So as you can imagine, it can be quite daunting if you want to review them and have a look at them. But therefore, we did that work for you. We reviewed the course format plugins, and there are over 40 plugins on course formats. And we selected 10 to discuss with you today. Plugins also can relate to other aspects of the system. So it's, not only about the formats. It can be related to authentication methods. It can be related to anti-plagiarism or additional blocks. If you wish to integrate your LMS with, for example, web conferencing tools, So there are additional plugins for those. But during today's webinar, we're going to focus on course formats. And we're going to look at each of those course formats one by one, and not in a matter of preference, just kind of a random list, perhaps from the most commonly used to maybe the least commonly used plugins. And we're going to look into how using one course format over other might suit different courses, depending on the course structure, depending on the activities, even depending on the preferences of your learners. So let's have a look. Okay. Topics formats perhaps is one of the most common formats that is used, and it is really kind of focused around the sections. And the sections can be presented, you know, in a way and laid out in a way that is convenient for you, and it is easy to kind of move them around, and it's very straightforward, I guess. In a way, it's quite good because it shows the learner the progress and what has been completed. However, it is not the most appealing format, and the danger with using this format is it can simply very easily become the scroll of death. So if you are including a lot of materials and the learner has to scroll up and down, it kind of is tedious, and there are ways to kind of enhance that experience by kind of being creative and offering it a few tweaks even to the topics format. So the first thing that you can do is set the topics format to display one section per page. So instead of displaying all sections in one page, you can show just one. And basically that immediately changes the experience of the user. And if you, for example, add an image can be added in each topic summary area, and you can create a more appealing visual layout for the learner. In addition to that, the navigation changes. So, for example, when they click on one section, then they see the content that is particular for that section, and also they can use the buttons to navigate to the left or to the right to access other content and other sections. So that really helps to show kind of the content in a more concise way. In addition to thinking about the course format, you always probably should think about what activities are going to be used within the course, and could you include any blocks that are associated with those activities. So for example, if you are using a face-to-face activity, perhaps it is a good idea to add a calendar that will show the activities that are coming up. There is also a block that is called upcoming activities. So it will show all activities that are upcoming and that they can book themselves into. You know, you can show a course summary. If you are concerned that learners should keep an eye on their completion status, you could include course completion status block. Then again, depending on the theme that you are using, you could move some of the blocks to appear in a collapsible area. So the demo site that I'm showing at the moment is using theme Lambda, and some of the blocks can be dragged to the collapsible area. So you are giving the learner the opportunity to display or to hide the blocks. And that can, you know, improve their experience also, especially if, you know, they are accessing the course on a desktop. Then if you want to be adventurous and if you have any HTML knowledge, you can create topics with labels. And in this course, for the creation of this course, what we used is stealth activities, so stealth mode. So basically, if you are not familiar with stealth mode, it is actually a very, very interesting and useful tool. And basically, when you're using the stealth mode, you create the activities, you hide them, and then you make them available on the course page. So in this way, what you can do is you can create the, for example, pre-reading and post articles, then link them into a page, and hide the pre-reading page behind the button. So you see, when the learner comes in and clicks on the pre-reading, another page opens up for them, and they can see the articles that are related to pre-reading. When they are finished with the articles, they can go back to the page, and this section is going to be marked as completed. So I know that there are quite a few steps in here, and you have to have a label, for example, for activity that is not yet completed. You have to have a label for an activity that is completed, and you have to work with restrictions and stealth modes. So that does involve a bit of work from a trainer or course creator point of view. However, when you have some course set up like that already with the structure, what you can do is you can use it as a template for your other courses. So if you like it and if you get good feedback from your learners, you can just reuse that course format. And that definitely will make course creator life easier. Okay. The next one is the weekly format, and the weekly format would structure the sections in weeks, as the title suggests. The weeks will always kind of start with the course start date. And a very interesting new feature was introduced in Moodle 3.8. That is called relative dates. And for the relative dates, what you can have is a date that is relevant for every user depending on their enrollment date. Just be mindful that this is only an experimental feature, so it is not linked to all of the activities, but it is linked to assignments, for example. So let's have a look how the same course is displaying for different users depending on their enrollment date. So this is the weekly format, and the user enrolled into this course on the 1st of January. So you see from the layout, they have first week is 1st of January to 7th of January, second week is 8th of January till 14th of January, and in the second week, they have to submit an assignment, and their due date is 15th of January. In the same course, another learner is enrolled, and the enrollment date is the 1st of March. And therefore, the weeks are showing differently for this user, depending on their enrollment start. And also the assignment due date is going to be different. So it is 15th of March. And that is really, really handy, I think, if you have a rolling enrollment, and if you have assignments that need to be submitted, and have due dates, but the due dates are varied depending on each user enrollment date, and you can simply use this course format to definitely alleviate the process of having to set individual due dates for each of those learners or groups that you can use with the group overrides. Okay. Another course format that you might be familiar with is a single activity course format, and it is, I'd say, quite underused. And each activity within a course can become a course in itself. So basically, it can be a SCORM package, it can be a quiz, it can be a feedback activity, you name it. Anything, any one single activity can become a course. This course would be particularly useful for people who perhaps are not very technologically savvy, and if you wish to reduce the number of steps that the learner needs to take. So it's a really, really handy way. For example, if you have a SCORM link to it, the SCORM will launch immediately as soon as they access the course. So that definitely is a huge improvement and reduction in the clicks. You can use, for example, a glossary activity for a single activity course, and lay out, activities that are searchable and that they are easily to access, easy to access. Also, if you For example, creating a survey. Why not create a particular course and put in all the questions, enroll the users that need to answer those questions, and it's gonna pop up on their dashboard as a thing that needs to be addressed. And the SCORM format, as I mentioned, it can immediately launch the SCORM format, the SCORM activity for the learner. So no need to click on the course, click on the SCORM activity, then click on the button to launch the SCORM. They can be directly taken to the course content as soon as they access the page. Okay. So let's have a look at the next format. It is a board format, and board format displays the content horizontally, and it is quite interesting, I think, and quite unusual for the eye. So in this example, all the blocks are stripped, and just the activities that are assigned for each particular section are visible. With the help again of stealth activities and some imagery, you can completely change the board format. So say you could create the board format into something as displayed on this screen. So there was an image that was uploaded for the course. And then each of those icons was created for a section, and the activities kind of hide behind the icons that the learner can click into and be taken to a different page to access those activities. So I quite like the board format with the icons, because it's I guess it's more visually appealing than just having kind of a boring layout. The buttons course format is quite an interesting one, and you can, for example, again change the color of the icons. You can of the buttons. You can make them appear round. You can make them square. You can make them numeric or alphabetical. So it's your choice. The color can also be customized to your branding. And the beauty of this is that you can kind of cluster the sections. So for example, if you have a course content, and course content can be something that is mandatory, and also you maybe offer some additional resources in course content. So something that they don't necessarily need to read, but something that is there for learners if they need to access it. You can then cluster the course content sections, and it's going to appear for the learners. The mandatory training content can appear under section 1, and then the additional resources can appear on 2. And the learner would be navigating through clicking on the buttons and then accessing the sections of the course that are relevant for them. Okay. Our next course format is tiles. And tiles is an interesting one, because you can create a tile for each of the sections. And I quite like it because it gives the learner progress. So for example, each of the sections can have the progress, and as soon as it is completed, it is marked as completed for the learner. And you see the progress in here is 0 for now. And also it shows the overall progress in a course. So that is really, really handy, because the learner knows at a glance and how much is left to be completed. And it is rewarding for the learner to know that their completion is traced and that they are making progress, I guess, in the course. So each of those tiles can link to one activity or several activities. And if it is just one activity, obviously it's going to be marked as complete as soon as one activity is completed. If there are 2 activities, as in Foundations of Mindfulness, you see that the 50% is shown when they have completed one of the activities, and the quiz still needs to be completed. It's quite interesting that it shows you and explains to the learner that this is not completed yet and that they have to reach certain criteria in order for the quiz to be completed. So quite an interesting one, format that will show the learner their progress and also kind of segments the course sections in a different way. The thing to note in here is that you can choose the icons. You see the person and the light bulb. You can choose those icons from the icons that are offered, and they appear something that is already inbuilt. So it's handy. And you can, for example, create 9 tiles if you wish in a course, and just the layout is completely different, for example, to the course format. The next one is Enovation created plugin, what we call MOOC plugin, a MOOC course format, and it displays the course in tabs. So basically, what you can do is you can navigate in between those sections in a tab format. I quite like this because you can also customize the colors for this course format at a site level. So you can make it your own and use your own branding colors and present the kind of content in a really nice and clean layout. Then the next format that we're going to discuss today is grid. And grid course format, again, you can create a tile for a section, or you can create a tile for an activity and allow the learners to navigate their course by clicking on the tile. This perhaps would not be my maybe very favorite, because when you click on the tile, it is quite nice actually. When you click on the tile, it kind of zooms in the image, and I quite like that. However, when you click on the tile, what happens is it shows as a pop-up. It shows as a pop-up, and then the learner can X out of it and come back to the course page, or can use back and forth navigation to access the different areas of the course, or different tiles if you wish. So I'd say, I'm not a fan of the pop-up, but look, there's different ways and different means, and it really depends on your preference. Okay. Then now let's have a look at collapsible topics. And collapsible topics, this would be how the course would appear kind of at a glance without any configuration. So if you choose collapsible topics, that's how it's going to appear. And you can see that the learner can click on each of the sections, and it's going to expand and show the content that is available and applicable for each particular section. It shows progress kind of, and it lists a number of activities that are available in each section. And again, you can really improve it by, for example, deciding to show progress for each of the sections. I'm a big fan of showing progress, as you can see, but I think from the learner point of view, it is really interesting to know what is completed, what is not completed, and how they are getting on in the course. With the help of restricting access, what you can do is you can just show the learner the section that they have access to. So for example, if you do not want them to move to the course content before they completed pre-reading, you can restrict access, and you can just show them the pre-reading section, and when they complete the pre-reading section, they can then move on to the next section. Okay. The next one is collapse topics, and collapse topics, this again would be how it appears by default without any configuration from your side. And any configuration that I am talking about now for the course formats would be something that any teacher can kind of have access to and the possibility to configure. And these configurations happen via a UI, so you don't have to have any kind of developer knowledge or anything like that. So again, collapse topics is very similar to collapsible topics. However, it has, in my opinion, it has more benefits because you can change the layout and it becomes similar to boards, board format. And you can choose, for example, to have 2 columns. You can, again, change the color of the labels. You can change the imagery of the labels. You can choose if the description is or instructions display or not. You can choose if open all or collapse all is displayed or not. And I quite like it because it offers a lot of flexibility for content presentation. So let's have a look at this. Say this would be how the course is displaying when all sections are open, and then the learner can close them one by one. Or you can, for example, decide to show 4 columns and it completely changes the layout. Then in addition to that, the navigation that you're going to have is going to be different. So when the learner is going to click on the activity, again, they have the buttons left and right to navigate to other activities. And they can always use the breadcrumbs then to go back to the course in itself. Okay. So I guess this is it for my kind of the slide deck presentation. I see that there's quite a number of questions in the Q&A session, so I'm going to go to that, and then if you wish, we can go into Moodle itself and have a look at how those courses are displayed. Okay. Somebody says, how do you get to the start of this course format? And to be honest with you, I'm sorry, I apologize. I think because this question was asked and I'm not sure which course format you are referring to. So if you would like to add an additional kind of question, please feel free. Okay, there is a question in the topics format. Does it require an additional plugin? It doesn't, in fact. Topics format, you can just, everything I showed with the topics format for when you can create the labels or when you can create or display one section per page would be something that you can use with your existing course format. Okay, there is a question about the availability of course formats for different versions of Moodle. So what I have showed you now are the course formats that are available for Moodle 3.9. So if you are planning to upgrade to 3.9, which is in fact a very good version of Moodle to be on because it is the long-term support, you will be able to have any of those formats. And I guess the takeaway from this webinar is not to kind of go ahead and install all of those formats into your site, because then each of those formats will have to be maintained. But just to show you that there are different options and to choose the option that is most suitable for you and your learners, having in mind the content type that you are presenting and how it can be structured and laid out in different ways. Okay, in the board format, where can you go? Okay, so you know what? Let me actually go into Moodle. Just one sec. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, I'm sharing my screen now, so I'm hoping that you can see the Moodle, and I'm going into Moodle as my learner. Okay, so I have all of those laid out, and I'm going to show you the board format. So once you appear in the board format, this is how the course is displayed. And basically, when you click on the course objectives, you can be taken to an introduction to the course, and this page can contain any type of activity. So you can use, H5P, you can use embedded videos, you can use any type file that you have, you name it. It is exactly, how a page is going to be displayed. And then we have included the button to return to the course. And the learner can simply navigate back to the course and then, for example, access the course content page. So it's really, really handy because experience, as you see, it's very different from then just, for example, accessing in a topics format. Okay, collapsible topics was the one I mentioned with the progress that is indicated. And you see how simply the learner can kind of just navigate back and forth. I only have just like some examples of the files. And as you can imagine, all different types of activities can be added to it. So just want to show you the experience of and the ease of navigation. Let me just show you also the collapse topics, because I think I quite like that, to be honest, because it's just so playful. And look at that even. So there is an assignment that is due. It's highlighting to me, okay, you are due by 17th of March, so better get going on this. And yeah, it's just a different way, and the ease of navigation, I think, is super on this one. On the collapse topics, I mean. Okay. Is the learner progress only available in the tiles format? No, not really. So the progress would also be visible, for example, just by clicking on the, once you completed the course content, there is going to be a little tick that is going to offer, to see that you have completed. In the collapse topics, sorry, collapsible, I meant they are confusing names indeed. You can see the progress also for the course overall, progress within the course. You can decide to show the course status block. I think I have it in the topics format, just one sec. So a course completion status block, and that's going to show the completion in a course. So there are 4 activities within the course and 2 are completed for it. So there are kind of various ways. You see, what I mean is, I guess, if the course format in itself doesn't have the progress bar, you can always add a block in addition to that to help the learner to see where they're at. What is the difference between collapsible and collapsed? Okay, so the difference, I think my preferred one would be collapsible. Collapsed shows you the section that you can navigate back and forth and shows you the progress. But collapsed is something that you can, for example, display 4 columns. You can display 1 column and it's going to be laid out in a different way. You can display 2 columns, and the beauty of it, again, if branding is important to you, you can make it your colors. So for example, that blue and the fuchsia color that is showing when you hover over it, you can make it your own. You can make it green or red, depending on, what is required. Okay, there is a question. What is the topic I use with additional features? I used the topics format with additional features, and this is the topics format, just a very, very kind of run of the mill format. When each section is displayed as one page, you know, so see how you can navigate to different sections. But when the learner just comes back to the, when the learner just comes back to the course itself, it's going to display as follows. It's quite nice. Just what you have to remember is that this is a section, and you can add the image in the description of the section. So it's really handy. And also this is going to be responsive, and you know, if you minimize the screen, it's going to render accordingly. Okay, now a good question is how all those formats are going to work on mobile devices. That's a very, very good question, actually. So the course formats are going to show as they are showing in the desktop, in the browser. So if your learners are accessing the Moodle site via the browser, that's going to display appropriately. It's going to be, you know, responsive. However, if your learners are accessing Moodle via Moodle app, all the formats are stripped. So the formatting, it doesn't, it's not available for Moodle app. Okay. There is a question, is social format available for 3.9? This would be something that perhaps you could get in touch with us, and I would have to check. Potentially it is, but I wouldn't know off the top of my head. Okay, then there is another question. Does the board format link to single activity or to a section? The board format links to a section. So let's go back to it again. It lists a section name here. So this is a section name. And what I did is I hid it. Let me log in actually as administrator. Okay. So you see, if I turn editing on, what I have in here is the activities that were created in stealth mode. And do you remember, I'll just show you how to create the stealth mode. It's basically you hide the activity and then you make it available. I know it is kind of counterintuitive. Why would you hide it if you're making it available? But what you can do is, for example, if you have course objectives and meet the trainers, then you can create a page, and within that page you can link it to those previous activities. So it's really, really handy, because you know there is a little bit of work again from the course creator point of view, but again, as soon as this is created, if you like that format, you can use it as a template for other courses. Okay. Okay, I think we probably don't have any more questions today. So again, I really would like to thank you for attending this session. And I hope it was useful. And if you have any questions in relation to any of those course formats, please get in touch. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.